Welcome to Proven and Probable. I'm Maurice Jackson. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Robert Van Egmond, Vice President of Exploration for Dolly Varden Silver, which is advancing one of the largest high-grade, undeveloped precious metal assets in BC's Golden Triangle, the Kitsault Valley Project. Mr. Van Egmond, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Maurice. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, before we kick things off, sir, your team, under the leadership of CEO Sean Kunkun, have delivered some of the highest grade gold-silver intersects coming out of the prolific Golden Triangle this decade. Hats off to you and your team, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you. And like you say, it is a team. We have a good group of geologists, that are finding new discoveries in a 100-year-old mining camp, and it just shows that using modern techniques and being ambitious and curious gets you places.
It certainly does, and it certainly has. Well, it's great to have you on the show as Dolly Varden Silver has just announced its highly anticipated 2024 resource expansion and discovery-focused exploration drill program. Before we get into the details of the drill program, sir, for first-time listeners, please introduce us to Dolly Varden Silver.
Yeah, okay, Maurice. Well, Dolly Varden Silver, we have a large land package at the southern end of the Golden Triangle, which is host to a number of mines, precious metal mines, as well as large copper mines and large deposits that are approaching production. We're at the southern end, so we're in the right package of rocks, and we're finding various styles of mineralization that you find throughout the Golden Triangle, all in our sub-basin that we've covered with over 160 hectares of land package. So we've got a lot of opportunity for new discoveries, but it's all based on a foundational resource that shows that we are well endowed with high-grade silver and gold.
Well, speaking of opportunity, let's go on site. Sir, I have a plain view map of the Kitsault Valley Project displayed, which hosts 7 deposits loaded with high-grade gold and silver, along with some new, highly prospective target areas, which has attracted prudent capital from some of the most prominent institutions such as Sprott, Fidelity, Delbrook, Fury Gold Mines, and Hecla, and legendary names such as Rick Rule and Eric Sprott as long-term shareholders in Dolly Varden Silver. Before we discuss the plans for 2024, please acquaint us with the Kitsault Valley Project.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned before, it's a 100-year-old mining camp, and it's something that we're kind of a theme throughout the whole Golden Triangle. A lot of these discoveries were made in the 1920s, and some of the richest mines were in production after the 20s. Such as Dolly Varden, the silver mine, and Torbrit, which is another silver mine that we have on the property, but also places like Premier. Discoveries were being made at Eskay Creek. Eskay Creek started off as silver discoveries. So, that was almost 100 years ago. And this is a sort of a reawakening of the Golden Triangle and a lot of those old prospects. And as I mentioned, using modern exploration and 3D modeling, we're coming up with more deposits, and it's an exciting place to be working for sure. It's not only for the geology, but also just the certainty we have that we can get our work done. Working with the BC government and local First Nations, everybody's happy to be there, excited about working on the project, and I think it's going to be a good summer.
Well, if past is prologue, shareholders will be delighted to hear what Dolly Varden has in store for 2024. Sir, please walk us through the proposed 2024 drill program.
Yeah, okay, Maurice. Last year we had a huge program, 51,000 meters, and from that we got a lot of expansion and a lot of information within the resource areas. So this year's program will be focusing in a bit more on resource areas. So about 2/3 of our program will be around where we have resources, namely at Wolf that we're still working on, and Homestake Silver. So 2/3 of the program will be expanding out areas where we've come up with geological models showing where the higher grade, wider intercepts are. And then another third is in that exploration sort of category where we're trying to make new discoveries. We may have tagged into something last year's program with one hole, and we'll be working on expanding those out.
Well, speaking of the Wolf deposit, which remains open to depth, I have an image of the Wolf vein on the screen. Putting on your geological hat, what are we looking at here, and what has your team excited about Wolf?
Well, this is a long section, so we're looking at the side of the vein, and you can see it has a quite a a steep plunge, 45-degree plunge to the mineralization. And what's exciting about it is that it's a new discovery, or sort of a proof of a theory that this mineralization goes underneath the sedimentary cap, which is shown in brown there. So there's a layer of sediments that sits in the bottom of the valley, and the theory was that it's covering up the volcanics that go underneath. And so in 2021, we drilled a hole through that sedimentary cap and found that the vein does indeed continue, as well as the alteration. And last year, on some of our step-out holes, we find it's getting wider, and the grades are maintaining, that 300-gram silver. In the case of these holes that are at depth, we're finding an increase in lead and zinc, which add value, into the final product, depending on how much we can recover from those. But the point is it's still open, and it's getting wider at depth, and we now have it defined over 950 meters. And just one of the things that Wolf is sort of approaching Torbrit size. And Torbrit is our main silver deposit. It was mined in the 50s, and so it produced about 18 million ounces of silver. And we have about 35 million ounces from a 2019 resource still intact. So just for a sort of a size wise, you're looking at about a 50 to 60 million ounce silver size deposit. And Wolf is starting to approach that with our exploration work, what we're doing. And this year will be, we've been doing step outs and seeing how big it is. And this year we'll be starting to expand out and see how wide it is, and if it's continuous all the way down.
Well, you somewhat answered my next question. What are the goals this year on the Wolf vein? Where will you be drilling on the Wolf? And what are the objectives? And how did you arrive at your conclusion?
Yeah, on that drawing, there's we did step downs along that plunge, so that was for modeling. We could see that it was dipping down in that direction, and so we have like a center line of holes down there, and we keep expanding it out. But what we need to do now is find out how wide it is, and get some holes around the discovery holes, and that way we can get it into the inferred category. So we have to plan our spacing so that that's not too far apart, and we can have the confidence that the mineralization is continuous between holes, and then that way it can be added into the next resource calculation. And we'll be using some interesting techniques this year. We'll be using directional drilling, so we'll drill a mother hole through the sediments, and then using a little rotary motor, we can steer the holes off of that. So that way we don't repeat the first 300 meters of drilling, and we can pinpoint precisely where we intersect the target, so that we can get that spacing perfect.
Oh, I wish I could be a fly on the wall and see that happen. That's so intriguing.
Interesting.
Well, leaving the Wolf vein, let's move 5.4 kilometers over and visit what appears to be a jewelry box of gold and silver on the Homestake Silver and Homestake main deposits. Walk us through the deposits, and in particular, what has your team excited about the orange expanded plunge on the Homestake Silver?
Yeah. So the difference between the deposits at Homestake and the silver deposits in the south is that it's their structural orientation. So the southern deposits are on cross-cutting structures, Wolf and Kitsault veins. They've used these cross-cutting structures. Homestake main and silver are sort of parallel to the valley, and so they're structurally hosted. It's made up of a number of pulses of brecciation and veining that have come up along sort of these north trending structures. And what's exciting about that in the last few years is we've defined within those structures where there's a bend, the mineralization can come up in a form that's wider. So like at Wolf and at Torbrit, the differentiator with our deposits is the width. So we're not chasing a 1 to 2 meter vein that runs 800 grams or 400 grams. We're taking 20, 25 meters, 30-meter widths, and the reason that that's important is because we can apply a lower cost bulk underground mining method. So we're not following these veins long. And Homestake Silver and Main, that plunge that you're talking about that's highlighted in orange is a zone where it has opened up and there's more pulses of mineralization overlapping. And so those grades that we're reporting, those wide grades, that one there that's 93 meters, true width might be 50 meters, let's say, that is something that we would take out as a package. So even though there's higher grade intervals within that where there's more of these branches coming through, it's that width that we're after, and that is what that orange line outlines. So we'll be following that, and that was modeled from work we had done in 2022 on Homestake Main, which was mainly a de-risking exercise. After we had acquired it, first thing we wanted to do was prove continuity, and so that's where we got our structural information from, and then we applied it to our drilling at Homestake Silver.
Now, where and when will drilling commence, and what are the goals there?
We're actually loading the barge next week, and we'll be getting an earlier start this year because it is a low snow year. So it gives us the advantage that we can get in earlier. We should be drilling by the middle of May. Usually it's the first week of June, so we have a few week head start. But also what it means is there's, up higher at Homestake Silver and Homestake Main, there's a lot less snow than other years. So we'll be able to get in there earlier. We will be starting at Wolf. We want to get that directional drilling done earlier on in the program, and then as soon as we can clear off a couple of pads up on the Homestake Silver, we'll get a drill up there as well, because we're pretty excited to get in to all those new areas that we discovered last year and follow up on them. And one thing I didn't mention was, part of the results from last year did make a new discovery at Homestake Silver on the northern end. So when I'm talking about these structural corridors, the gold mineralization, so that was that 1,300 grams gold with almost 800 grams silver. That was in a set of veins that looks like it's cross-cutting at a low angle. So it's a new style of mineralization. It's it cross-cuts everything, and it fits into more of the age category of our neighbors, and the style is similar to what you see at Brucejack's or these quartz carbonate veins. So that's something we're really excited to get in, because we only have one hole through that with spectacular results. So,
well, speaking of new areas, before we leave the Kitsault project, I want to return to that 5.4 kilometer area that separates the Wolf from the Homestake deposit. It appears that there's a consistent theme on the spacing of each deposit on the Kitsault. What is the probability that there are more deposits embedded within the 5.4 kilometers, and what could that mean for shareholders?
Well, that's that on that long section where you see Moose. That Moose vein is one of those next interval from Wolf. So that intervals you're talking about is about 1.5 kilometers, and we kind of noticed that these cross-cutting structures, the major ones that host the vein. So part of the Torbrit deposit is the Kitsault vein. 1.5 kilometers later, we have the Wolf vein. 1.5 kilometers later, we have a showing called Moose, which last year we drilled a hole into, and we got 712 grams per ton silver over a couple meters, and within a wider interval of 270 grams per ton silver. So we've tagged into something that is similar looking to Wolf. It's on that same periodicity, and we hope to be drilling down plunge on that. Again, similar type idea as Homestake Main and Silver. We're taking the structural knowledge from Wolf and applying it to Moose, and then following that trend down. And so the next 1.5 kilometers after Moose is what we call Silver Horde. That's just alteration on surface. We'll be following that down. So the possibility in that 5.5 kilometer stretch is a possible 2 to 3 more of those big structures that could host similar mineralization to what Wolf has, and hopefully one of those basins might even have a strata bound system like Torbrit. But that'll be what we'll find out when we drill through the sediment cap. And yes, we do have a few holes planned for this summer to test that.
All right. Well, leaving the project site, let's look at some numbers. Sir, please provide the capital structure for Dolly Varden Silver.
Yeah, well, with metal prices going up, we're currently at a market cap of about 290 million. So that's the highest we've gotten it so far. We remember about 4 years ago we started off at a $20 million market cap. Since Sean came on, we've grown organically through the drill bit, and then also through acquisition by getting Homestake Ridge, and now the copper gold system at Big Bulk. Yeah, we have some strong shareholders, about 50% institutional. Recently, or like late last year, Hecla made a $10 million investment, so they've gone up to about 15% of the share structure. Fury dropped down a little bit to 19%. Their share was through the acquisition of Homestake Ridge, their divestment. So they were paid in stock, so that's why they're so high. And then our retail has gone up a little bit to 8%. And on the last financing, Eric Sprott, he participated. That was a $15 million financing flow through. So we're cashed up. We have about 22 million in the bank right now, and ready to get going on this program.
All right, sir. Before we close, what keeps you up at night that we don't know about?
Well, it's what a lot of people don't realize is the amount of work out in the field. And so now that our program's getting going, one thing that always happens at this time of year and during the field season is just concern for everyone's well-being out in the field. We have all the safety protocols and everything in place, but it's always there. You just making sure that you have a good program. But what keeps me up at night is really excitement, about getting out there and testing these theories that we've come up over the winter, and hoping that we turn into something big again.
Last question, sir. What did I forget to ask?
Well, I think you've got it mostly covered. I just hope we're going to have a good program and our theories come true, because we've got some big ideas, and I can't wait to get out there and test them.
Well, we have full confidence in you and Mr. Kun and your entire team, sir, and I'm honored to be a shareholder. I'm going on about 4 or 5 years here of being a shareholder, and I'm always looking to add to my position. Mr. Van Egmond, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Wishing you and Dolly Varden Silver the absolute best, sir.
Thank you, Maurice. It was a pleasure being here.
The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.